Hello and welcome to the first midweek episode of That Made Your List, where normally I interviewed average ordinary film fans. Today I'm putting up my list. On the various social medias that I've got running for the podcast, I put up 5 different options for me to give my top 5 of. This week, thanks to Timothy, Derek, Christopher, James, Matt and Nazario, who all posted on Facebook, it's my top 5 remakes. That is my choice, obviously, not the definitive 5, but my 5 favourite remakes. As with every top 5, especially with remakes, I've got honourable mentions that just made it, and also I've come up with some that really should not have been made. Let's go through those quickly then. First one, the 2001 Planet of the Apes, starring Mark Wahlberg, Helena Bonham Carter. Where do you start with that? It's bad. It's not good. The only thing good about it is the effects of the ape, the makeup of the ape. That's the only thing. It won 3 Razzies, which, for those of you that don't know, most of you, it's basically the anti-Oscars. Worst supporting actor, worst supporting actress, and the worst remake or sequel of that year. It ain't good. Also, we've got, in my opinion, really, really bad, should never have been done anyway, 1998's version of Psycho. Vince Vaughn, Anne Heche, Julianne Moore, Viggo Mortensen, William H. Macy. I mean, they've got a good cast, Vince Vaughn aside. They've got a good cast, but none of those could really save that steaming pile of horse crap. It wasn't good. It should never have been done. 2 Razzie wins for that one. Okay, worst remake or sequel and worst director, Gus Van Sant. Oh dear. Coming a little bit more up to date, we've got the 2012 Total Recall. Oh God, I'm sorry. Colin Farrell, Jessica Biel, Kate Beckinsale. Directed by Len Wiseman. Let's take everything that was good about the beloved original, Arnold Schwarzenegger, great sci-fi. Take everything that was good about that and not put any of it into the remake. No Mars, no mutants, no good. 2014's RoboCop. Now, not a bad film. Not in comparison to the others previously. Not a bad film. But it's just unnecessary. The original holds up. Okay, it still holds up. It's fine. Starring Altered Carbon's Joel Kinnaman. Now, if you've not seen Altered Carbon on Netflix, it's a great sci-fi, head-twisty series. It's really good, really good. Also, Gary Oldman and Michael Keaton's got a good cast in there. So it's just not bad as such. It's just unnecessary. It just didn't need to be made. And then the final one I put up on here for my anti-list, 2015's Point Break, starring Luke Bracey as Utah and Edgar Ramirez as Bodhi. Again, not good. Not good. Yeah, that's the best I can come up with that. Not good. But anyway, that's the bad ones out of the way. As I said, thank you to those of you on the social medias that have contributed and given up with the votes that I've got. So, coming up next week, we have got the options will be the same as we had last time. Minus obviously remakes, that'll be up there, and then one more will be added on. That'll be coming up on the social medias pretty soon. Okay then, to my honourable mentions list. Some of you are going to be really upset that these are not on here, so I'll get the big one out of the way. The biggest remake I've got on here that doesn't make my top 5, The Fly. I'm just not a fan of it. It's good, I'm not denying it's good, I just don't particularly like it. We've also got Cape Fear. Again, a really good film. It's only just missed out. These I like, but just not there. DOA. I really like DOA. Dennis Quaid, poisoned guy who has to solve his own murder essentially. Really, really good. I Am Legend. Will Smith's I Am Legend, which is a remake of the Omega Man, however you want to say it, which itself is a remake of The Last Man on Earth. Yeah, I think that was it. I really like the I Am Legend. I really like I Am Legend. It's the way that it's just, for so long, it's just him and his dog up against these zombies. Insomnia, Al Pacino, Robin Williams, is a remake from a foreign language film. Brendan Fraser's The Mummy. I really do like it. It's a great, what I call a Sunday afternoon film. You put it on, it's on TV, you can sit back, put your feet up and just chill with it. It's fun. Everything that the Tom Cruise remake of it was not. Yeah, not good at all. And then my final for my honourable mentions is Scent of a Woman. Again, Pacino, Chris O'Donnell. A remake of I believe it's an Italian film. But yeah, good. Those I liked. They're good films. I'm not saying they're bad. They just didn't quite make the list. So, starting with my 5. Not done too bad. 5 minutes or so in. These are going to be shorter. Honestly, I promise you, they're not going to be the hour and a half epics that the main ones are going to be. These are going to be shorter, punchy, just me going. So, coming in, number 5. 2008's Quarantine. Most of you probably not heard of it. It's a remake of the 2007 film Wreck. Both films focus on a news crew that are following an emergency service call out to an apartment building. In Quarantine, they are then trapped inside the building when the CDC, Centre for Disease Control, lock down the building. After it's lifted, the only clue as to what happens is the news crew's recordings. This was an incredibly quick turnaround from the original Spanish to the Hollywood remake of only a year. The original directors, Jaume Balaguerro and Paco something. Yeah, Paco, well, it's not Paco something, but Paco, I've gone on record saying they don't particularly like the remake. The original had a 1.5 million euro budget compared to the 12 million remake budget. Unusual for a Hollywood movie, it features no musical score, which is really good because it focuses the viewer on to react more to every scratch and knock and footstep that you hear. I'm not going to spoil the film for those of you that have not seen it and want to see it. But yeah, the lack of a score overriding everything really does just focus the senses into to what's happening around the cast. In both the original and the remake were filmed chronologically, so it's there's no cutting backwards and forwards and everything like that. With the original, they didn't actually get the final what's happening to each characters until the day that they were filming those scenes. They didn't know who was going to die and who's going to survive and everything else. The original was actually filmed in an actual apartment block. The remake was filmed on a set, although that set was a fully functional 4-story set, which might explain where some of that 12 million budget came from. It's not necessarily one of the best 5 remakes ever made, I will admit that. The Fly is probably better loved and more appreciated than this, but I really love Wreck. It's not seen by many, so me personally, this made this a must for this list, just to get the love for it out there. Okay, coming on then. Moving on, we have got 2016's The Jungle Book. Now, the 1962 Disney animated Jungle Book is one of my all-time favourite films. It made my list on the original That Made Your List as a film that makes me happy, because it does. It's an absolute joy of a film. The songs, the characters, the old ink pen and ink drawings on it. So when I heard that there was going to be a a live action remake. A live action. It's not live action. It's stretch calling it live action when the only thing that isn't computer generated in there is Mowgli. Mowgli himself, played by an absolutely amazing Neil Sethi, his name is, his first ever big screen debut. He'd been in some Diwali short back in India. This is the first time he'd been on a feature film of any sort, and absolutely kills it. Jon Favreau as a director absolutely nailed it. As I said, I was more than a little bit nervous about this being remade because I really appreciate and love the 62 animated so much. The best and most recognisable songs from the 62 film are there. Admittedly not in full Disney-esque grandeur, but they're here nonetheless. The cast of the remake is a lot more star-studded compared to the animated one. Bill Murray, Sir Ben Kingsley, Scarlett Johansson, Idris Elba, Lupita Nyong'o, who is getting a lot of love now, especially coming out of Black Panther. Christopher Walken as the of all of them, shining brightest as King Louis. Changed slightly from being an orangutan to a Gigantopithecus. A budget of 175 million for the remake. It grossed worldwide just under $1 billion. It is giving Favreau a massive hit, giving him the Disney bosses love, which has led him to doing the Lion King remake under the same kind of circumstances, and also now a Star Wars TV series for when Disney launch their streaming service, which is going to be coming, I think, next year. But yeah, Jungle Book, 2016 Jungle Book, absolutely, yeah. It's considering that it's the only thing that is not real. The only thing that is real, is Mowgli. Everything else is all CG. The water looks like water. The grass, the way the grass is moving, the trees are moving, it's just fantastic. Yeah. Okay, in third place on my list, to a lot of people probably should have been higher, 1983, Scarface. As I say, it's the oldest film on the list. Excuse me, have a little drink of water. Pause one sec. The oldest film on the list. Scarface tells the story of Cuban refugee Tony Montana and his rise through the criminal underground and then his eventual fall. It's a remake of sorts of the 1932 film of the same name, although it shares very little with its namesake. The original focuses on bootleg booze in Chicago, where the action here is obviously Miami, and instead of booze, it's cocaine trade and drug trade. Michelle Pfeiffer looks stunning, playing Elvira Hancock, the mistress of the boss of the cartel. The cast, although the majority of the cast was supposed to be sort of it's the Cuban drug cartel. Stephen Bauer, who played Manny, is the only actual Cuban in the main cast. So Pacino and Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio, who played Tony's sister Gina, are both Italian American. F. Murray Abraham is in there, is Assyrian, I think it is. There are several callbacks to the original film, most notably in the several references to Pan America Airlines, which the previous director Howard Hughes was a majority shareholder in. It's got one of the most iconic lines and quotes that is said by many people. Say hello to my little friend, as he's picking up the AR-15 with the grenade launcher underneath it. Yeah, it's a good film. I like it. It probably, maybe to some should have been higher, maybe not. To me, it's smack bang in the middle of my top 5. It's there. So into the top 2, these two, they kind of stuck themselves. Number 1 is standalone, by far for me the best, but number 2 is Ocean's 11, 2011's Ocean's 11. A star-studded heist film that kicks off a franchise. I don't know for those of you listening, yes, it is a franchise now, because in my opinion though, a franchise is more than 3 films. Although there's only 3 Ocean's film, there's a Sandra Bullock film on its way, whereas Ocean's 8, which is in the same universe as such, because Sandra Bullock plays Danny Ocean's sister. So it's all together. So it's now a franchise, not just a trilogy. There we go. Launched the trilogy. The first one's good. The last one's good. The second one I enjoy, but only purely because it you don't get 3 without 2. But 1 launches it all off. Clooney, Pitt, Damon, Julia Roberts, Andy Garcia. The headline of the movie that's a remake of a 1960 Rat Pack classic. It's still one of the most rewatchable films around for me. Not necessarily the storyline or the action, but more the snappy dialogue and the chemistry between Clooney, Pitt and Damon. 2 of them not even supposed to be in the picture. Bruce Willis was originally supposed to be Danny Ocean, but he had to drop out due to scheduling issues. And Mark Wahlberg, who keeps popping up in these. Mark Wahlberg, you'd be amazed the amount of time that Mark Wahlberg pops up on should have been this role, but turn it down to do this, or should have done that to do this. He was on this weekend's one that I did with Alex. He was due to be in The Lovely Bones, but dropped out. Oh no, that was it. No, he took advantage the other way around. What did he drop out of then? Anyway, no, it's supposed to be Ryan Gosling, dropped out, Wahlberg did it. There's another one, Wahlberg dropped out to do Planet of the Apes. Oh, I can't remember. Too late anyway. But yeah. Mark Wahlberg was offered Matt Damon's role, but turned it down to do Planet of the Apes. That's it. That was it. What am I on about? Oh. Yeah, this is why I don't do any editing, to make me look like a complete idiot. It's good. I do that. The original movie had really good dialogue as well. But whereas the remake relied on the screenplay, written fantastically by Ted Griffin, the original was mostly ad-libbed. The chemistry that Sinatra, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr. and all the others had, because they were this massive clique, because of that, they were able to just ad-lib most of the movie in there. The original, most of the filming was filmed early in the morning before sunrise, because Sinatra, Martin and Davis Jr. were still performing in the evenings at Sands and everywhere else, so they couldn't do the night filming to get the night parts, so they had to do it 3-4 o'clock in the morning before the sun came up. They must have been shattered. Yeah. So there's number 2, Ocean's 11, 2001. So brings me to the number 1. Number 1, in my own humble opinion, Remake. Directed by Martin Scorsese, starring Matt Damon, Leonardo DiCaprio, a remake of the 2002 Infernal Affairs. It is, of course, 2006's Departed. Story of a police recruit, DiCaprio, taken straight out of the academy before he gets a chance to properly not qualify. Yeah, oh God, it's been a long day today. Taken straight out of the academy to infiltrate the local mafia, Boston Mafia. While at the same time, on the other side of the fence, Matt Damon is sent by his crime boss, Jack Nicholson, to be a mole inside the Boston police force. The pair of them rise through the ranks. Damon eventually rising up in the department to be in the department with a task with catching himself whilst finding out the identity of the police mod and the mob. It won 4 Oscars, including first Best Director nod for Scorsese. The original was Hong Kong's nomination to the 2004 Oscars for Best Foreign Language Film, but it didn't win. The 06 version, though, is the first foreign language film remake to win an Oscar. There you go, trivia fans. I know some of you are listening to it. This is another one where some people shouldn't have been there. Brad Pitt was originally cast as Matt Damon's role, but he dropped out to film Babel, and in probably one of the worst possible casting ideas ever, Tom Cruise was originally considered for DiCaprio's role. Oh no, I just couldn't imagine that. Pitt I can see in Matt Damon's role, but Damon covers it a damn sight better. Mark Wahlberg turns up again in this. He's from the Boston area, and Scorsese always says that because they were filming in the area, his local accent came out so much because he was hearing it all the while, that they almost had to tone it down for him so he could be understood. He was fearing they're going to need subtitles on the film just to understand Wahlberg's Boston accent. It's a very, very good film. It's not Scorsese's best film, but then again, he has directed some absolute monsters. I do believe the Oscar nod for this is almost a lifetime achievement Oscar, because I thought, well, we might not get back up here again. We better give it to him sooner or later. Yeah, this one will do. Yeah, there we go. That's my 5. Yeah, actually, that was painless, wasn't it? Look at that. To barely 20 minutes. Barely 20 minutes. I will be back at the weekend as usual, doing the That Made Your List standard. If you've got any comments or questions, or if you did want to be a guest on the main show, I've got an email. The email is thatmadeyourlist@outlook.com. The Facebook page, That Made Your List, where you can find all the old episodes, as well as a pinned post of the main questions, and also the poll to be able to choose next week's midweek subject. That's there. We're also on Twitter at @ThatMadeYour. I've been Dave Goodger, and this has been That Made Your List.